Um, Sorry, got to turn that chime off so we don't get interrupted. All right, I hope you're having a great Thursday. I cannot believe we are getting close to the end of the week here. Holy cow, where did that week go? But I have so enjoyed spending the time with you. And we do have one more day. We got Friday tomorrow where we're going to be talking about the one thing you need to do every day and how to go about creating that 30-day plan. But today, we're going to be talking about the 8 tools that you need to add to your toolbox, the essential tools that you need to add to your toolbox. And I was thinking about this morning as I was, making some notes. The whole idea of a toolbox doesn't seem very feminine, but I want you to consider having that pink diamondy, sparkly toolbox and those things that we're putting in, to help us grow and to help us expand, and those things that we need to have with us. So let's talk just a minute, just give a quick recap of some of the things that we have done over the last 3 days here. We talked a little bit about day one, that mindset, that leadership mindset, and how we really need to be in that right place, right, within our heads. Then we talked about some of the questions that you need to ask yourself, right? What are those things that you need to be asking deep within to be able to really connect on a deeper level with the answers or what it is that you're supposed to be doing. Sorry, I've just got some notes here. And how, pondering them, writing them, the who, the what, the where, the why being a big one. Yesterday, we talked about accessing those answers within and how you go about accessing those answers within, right? And getting quiet. And there was a quote that I just wanted to share with you this morning that's kind of on this, right? The idea is quiet the mind and your soul will speak. Quiet the mind and your soul will speak. We have got to get out of this chatter and this constant, right? And the voice inside of our head that, the negative Nelly, right? Who's saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, blah, 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 right? We have got to quiet our mind, which we talked about on yesterday's call, how we can let things in and out, the flow in and out, quieting your mind and allowing your soul to speak, allowing that to bubble up. And that's where accessing those answers within yesterday that we talked about is so critical. Getting in that place of silence and solitude, getting in that place of, having an empty head. And I get it. It's so hard, the distractions. Even when you sit down to get into that place of quiet, right? There is always something that is going to distract us and grab us. But it's, letting it come in and letting it go out. Important piece. So today, again, I want to talk about those 8 fundamental tools that you need to put into your toolbox. They are all part of the divine feminine, right? It is looking at this divine feminine approach and who you are and how you show up and what you're doing, coming in as a leader with that more feminine approach and looking at the divine feminine qualities. And those are the 8 things we're going to be talking about today. 8 divine feminine qualities that you need to access as you make decisions, as you step into leadership, as you're looking at all areas where you are being a lead-her, right? Anything, your personal life, your business life, your career, your family, your community, right? You are a leader. You are a leader in so many areas and you don't even know it. You're a leader when you post something on social media. You're a leader when you say something to your child. You're a leader when you speak softly to your spouse or significant other. You're a lead-her. And by reflecting that right back out, that love, that kindness, that compassion, these divine feminine qualities that we're going to be talking about today, you become the leader that excels in all areas. I had a lengthy conversation with a gentleman a couple of nights ago about this idea of the feminine and leaning into more of the feminine and how I don't know about you. I know I can so easily slip into that masculine energy, right? Very easy to slip into that masculine energy because I'm a go, go, go. I got to do, right? And let me take a breath. Let me let you take a breath. As excited as I am to share this, right? I don't want to be in the masculine while I'm sharing it with you because we need to, again, access that divine feminine so that when we are showing up, we are being authentic to who we are as women, as human beings, as people, right? Because that is the type of leadership that is needed right now in this world. That's how you can make a tremendous impact. So let me share what these divine feminine, the 8 divine feminine qualities are. And as we go through them, I'm going to share some different definitions of them and some thoughts and some stories and all that. Again, if you have, actually, let me get over here. If you were on the Facebook, oh, look at that. See, I had gotten off on myself and you guys are making comments and I hadn't even seen them. Hello. Hi, Brooke. Hi. Yeah, right. I'm probably Nikki, getting rid of the negative Nelly in the head. Absolutely. Yes. So thank you for your comments. That's exactly what I was going to say. If you're on my Facebook page, if you're in the group watching this, just give StreamYard access and that way the comments will show up for me on the StreamYard dashboard. So let's jump into this, okay? So the first one is intuition. This is the first of the 8 divine feminine tools that you need as a leader. Intuition, right? And if you look at the dictionary, it's defined as a direct perception of truth. I want you to think about, as a woman, how you use your intuition in living your daily life, right? And what it is that you're leaning into. So I know there have been times when I've gotten into an elevator or actually even walked up to the park. And there's something in my intuition that's saying, I got to let this person pass, or I got to get off this elevator. Or how about even intuition in making a left turn versus a right turn, or going up Hawthorne versus Crenshaw, which are the 2 major arteries up to the street to where I live. Listening to that intuition. Listening to that divine truth within. Now, this, like I said, it goes as easy as listening as you're getting in an elevator and who's walking behind you to what street to take, and which may sound silly, but it's all about practicing listening to that inner guidance system, right? Your intuition is your inner guidance system. I believe it is divinely led. If you believe in something greater than yourself, if you have that faith like we've been talking about over the last 4 days, you have that inner guidance system that is being driven by the universe, by your soul, by Mother Earth, by God, by whatever that is for you, right? And learning to listen to that intuition and taking those intuitive hits and acting upon them. That's the first tool that you need in your toolbox, is intuition. But you need to also listen to it and act upon it. Does that make sense? I hope so. So what is it that maybe you're being intuitively guided to do and you haven't, or you aren't, or you're afraid to? You know, I'm sure you've all heard stories where somebody, they have that sense that, I shouldn't leave yet, or I shouldn't take that street, or I should, right? And then you hear of these, or I shouldn't get on that plane. We've all heard stories like that, right? And it's a matter of whether you listen to that inner guidance system or not, right? And I want to encourage you as a leader to really step into that divine intuition within, that divine feminine tool here of your intuition, and listen and act upon that. The second divine feminine tool that you need in your toolbox is being heart-centered, right? Being heart-centered. We need to get out of the constant head stuff. I'll keep it clean. We got that trash in our heads. We go up into our head and we start thinking, and we start worrying, and we start spinning, and we start blah, 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 right? Anybody experienced that before? I mean, even I do at times, right? And we spin out of control because we're up here instead of down here, right? How can you move what's going on up here into here, right? Using those divine feminine tools, looking at that and being aware of that and having that in your toolbox, so that when you get into the worry and the fear and the doubt and the negative Nelly and all those things that are spinning in your head, how can you slow things down and pause to lower yourself into that heart-centered place? When you're making a decision, when you need to respond to an email, when you need to act accordingly. Here's an example. This just happened last night. Things were going on with a woman in my building in our HOA, and yeah, heart-centered is key, right? And things were crazy, and there were emails flying back and forth and like just crazy stuff, right? Because somebody was in their head, and felt like they were being attacked and all the blah, 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 right? As women, we do, right? And I saw this email thread this morning, and sent back an email saying, we just need to pull this down into our heart and see where this person is coming from. See the pain this person is coming from, and respond in a different way, from a place of being heart-centered, right? In how you deal with your children, in how you deal with the significant others in your life, in how you deal with other family members, business associates, the person who's sitting next to you on an airplane and down and out. I mean, it's coming from that heart-centered place, okay? So that's the second tool you need in that toolbox of yours, that divine feminine heart-centered being, that heart-centered leader, right? Doesn't mean that you're going to make rash or stupid decisions or whatever. It's getting into that heart-centeredness, right? So important, so important. The third tool you need in your toolbox for this is compassion. Now, the definition of compassion is a feeling of deep sympathy. But what I want to say is let's look at this more from the empathy side of things, okay? Let's take the empathy in your divine toolbox, right? Because empathy is an identification or a vicarious experiencing of emotions or thoughts or attitudes of another, right? Empathy is where you pull somebody up, right? You're pulling them up, you're helping them. You're not getting in the pit with them. Does that make sense? So when you are out there leading, wherever you're leading, right? Rather than actually getting down in the pit of compassion and not actually being able to get yourself back up, right? It's being above the pit. There's a diagram of this, where you can hold the space for them, where you can be there for them, where you can offer a hand up, where you can allow, right? So it's that empathetic compassion, I guess, right? In that divine feminine being, where you're able to help lift them back up and find themselves again, or within yourself, right? Even having that compassion and that empathy for yourself in what it is you're going through, right? So that's what I would like to suggest as the third tool is this compassion / empathy. And how, as a leader, can you have empathy for somebody? Yeah, there are times we have to get in the pit with somebody. Most definitely have to get in that pit and help push them out or lift them up. But as we're talking about this as a leader, I would like to suggest this idea of offering a hand up, out, and being there, holding that space. Holding the space is such an important thing. I was with somebody this week who just needed the space held for him, right? It was, we've got girlfriends, we've got guy friends who are going through incredible things. And as LeadHERs in our life, we need to learn to listen, right? And hold that space for somebody so that they can empty. Doesn't mean we have to take it all on. I don't want you to take it all on, right? We need to hold that space so that they can empty their container and then we can dump it, right? And just be allowing for them to speak. That's a true sign of a leader, a LeadHER. Huge, actually, in my humble opinion. The fourth is acceptance, or accepting. Now, this can be seen as receiving, receiving whatever is offered, but it can also be seen as accepting what is, right? Doesn't mean that you can't work to make changes, right? But I mean, even when we talk about the 5 stages of grief, right? That final stage of grief is acceptance. Now, let me step back on that because I don't believe the 5 stages of grief, you bounce around them, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, all those things, right? With acceptance being the last thing, but doesn't mean that I might not have a bounce back as you go through that 5 stages of grief. But acceptance, where are you now? Accepting exactly who you are in this present moment, in the situation or circumstances that you are, in the leadership role that you have. If you're accepting of that, right, and being okay with being here and knowing there is more out there, because as you've gone through all of this over the last few days, you know that there's more, that you're being called to more, that you're going to be stepping into that, right? But also being okay in that acceptance of, okay, it's time to move forward. This is where the universe has me right now. Doesn't mean that I'm going to stay there, right? How about acceptance of others? When you are being a leader and you're, within your leadership role, whatever that is, in your, if you're leading a team in your business, or you've got an employee coming into you, right? How can you show acceptance? Now, I'm not saying that people, you allow people taking advantage or not doing their work or abuse. No, absolutely not. No. In fact, if that's going on in your life, I highly encourage you to reach out to a counselor, a therapist, or whatever, right? You need to get the support and the help you need. So I'm not talking about acceptance of poor behavior or see, there's the phone again. My apologies. We need to, we have to have boundaries in that, right? Absolutely. So don't get me wrong on that. Please don't misunderstand. But acceptance in not having these, even previously when we talked about this earlier this week, this idea of accepting that, where I am right now and what I need to be doing and how do I move forward? How do I keep going? So acceptance is the next one. Receiving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Receiving is the fifth one, which is to take into one's possession, right? So, but I want to do that a little softer, right? How can you receive? There is a natural give and take, a natural of in and out. There is a natural giving and receiving, right? And as a leader, as who you are, and I know many of you here, you are already giving. And receiving can be uber difficult, right? Receiving and allowing. How many times has somebody walked past you, and I'd love to hear in the chat, and said, "Hey girl, you look great today." And you're like, "Oh, no, this is something old. I just grabbed it out of the back of my closet." Have you ever done that? I bet you have. Anybody gonna willing to admit to it? Or, somebody walks into your home and says, "Wow, this is beautiful. I love what you've done to the place." And you're like, "Oh, this isn't nothing. It's no big deal. It's right." You know what we're doing when we do that as a leader? We are negating what they are saying to us. We are negating the gift that they are giving to us instead of stepping into it and receiving that, right? The first time I experienced it, it was so uncomfortable. I was at one of my success summits, so this has got to be at least, 7, 8 years ago. And a woman walked up to me and said, "Wow, you look so great. I love that dress on you. You were just glowing." And I paused in that split second and said, "Thank you." And I really took it in. I received that gift that she had just given me. I had received the compliment, right? So how can you do better to receive? It may be, something emotional. It may be something spiritual. It may be something financial. It may be something in your business. It may be something in your personal life. But how can you allow that flow of receiving to come into you and be okay with it, right? Because I know you're already giving. Divine Feminine is all about the flow, right? It's not about the pushing, the pulling, the crazy. It's allowing the law of reciprocity to come and go, to give and receive, right? So that's the next one, is receiving. 6. I should remember these. The 6th one is forgiving. And forgiveness, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, is absolutely essential and so incredibly huge. In my retreats, I teach a lot about forgiveness because nothing can move forward if we aren't able to forgive ourselves and others. I'm not saying that we can't forget, right? I know there are things that happen to us or experiences or whatever, right? And we may still have that memory. But how can you step into a place of forgiveness? And it starts with forgiving yourself. It really starts with forgiving yourself for potentially a bad action, a bad decision, about whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever it is for you that you're holding on so tightly to, you're resistant to letting it go because you think you deserve to be punished for the email you sent or the comment you made or the bad decision you made in your marriage or whatever it is, right? You hold on to it and you don't forgive yourself. And here's what I have to say to that. God, universe, source, spirit, it already says you're forgiven. So who are you not to forgive yourself? Now, sometimes that work has to be done kind of deeply. We got to take it into a different level and look, why aren't I forgiving myself? Why am I holding on to this, right? But when you can learn to love yourself unconditionally, understanding your faults and your flaws and your failures, and we all have them, right? And we continue to make them every day. But if I held on to everything that I regretted and wasn't able to forgive myself, can you imagine the dark place that I or you would be in? So how can you forgive yourself? How can you forgive others? How can you learn to unconditionally love yourself, looking in that mirror and saying, wow, I am a beautiful being. I have really got my stuff together. You know what? And loving somebody else unconditionally, right? It's not being in that place of judgment. It's allowing them to be the person they are. Who are you to judge? That's the other piece I have, right? Who are we to judge? We're not meant to judge. That's not our place. That's not our place. That's why I said at the very beginning of this, right? For me, it's God. That's where my power is. That is my higher power. But it may be whatever it is for you, right? Whatever religion, whatever higher power, whatever it is. Who is it for me to judge? No. Anyway, sidetrack, side note. Forgiveness. Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, unconditional love of self, unconditional love of others. Because when you do have that, so much more can bubble up in your life. You will be a much stronger person and a much stronger leader to be able to reflect that love and that unconditional love and that forgiveness to your those around you, the people who need it most, right? That core group of people that I talk about, those people who are in your sacred circle. Do you want your child watching you hold on tightly to anger and unforgiveness to a spouse, to a divorced spouse? I know I didn't. I wasn't going to do that with my kids. No, I'm not going to reflect that kind of love or hate, right, to my children. How do you do that with your business associates or your team or your you see where I'm going with this. You get it. 7, nurturing. We have got to be in that divine feminine with our toolbox. We have got to be nurturing. We have got to be supportive and encouraging to one another. You know, I've heard lift as you climb. Bring it on, right? We have got to support and encourage one another. Get out of this idea, and actually the 7th word is collaboration. We have got to get out of this world of competition and step into that collaboration, right? It's about nurturing and supporting one another. Whatever you do, you go, girl. I am so excited for you, right? You got that raise, awesome. You launched that product and made $1 million, fabulous, right? Oh, you're dating this amazing guy. You married somebody. Oh, your soulmate. I am so excited for you, right? Those are the kinds of things, right? We've got to get out of this idea of this competition in this world and understand that we are all collaborative beings who need to nurture one another, who need to support one another, who need to cooperate with one another. We need to be there together, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So as you look at these 8 fundamental elements of the divine feminine being, right? I need you to look at how you can step into those things for yourself in your relationships, in your finances, in your health, in your business, in your community, in your tribe, in your whatever it is you're doing. Because I don't even know what all y'all are doing, right? I need you to lean into that. When you lean into that, then you become the feminine lead-her that you're meant to be. Now, I want you to release the masculine, the pushing, the pulling, the dictating, the controlling, the fear. You have got to release the anger, the resentment, the bitterness, right? All of that. You've got to release all of that stuff to really embody that divine feminine being that you are, that divine feminine qualities that we are given, the divine feminine knowing that we have here to be the lead her, right? Because as I said at the beginning of this call, that is who you're meant to be. That is how you're meant to lead. That's what's going to make an impact. That is where our world has shifted to, in my humble opinion, right? Soft is the new strong. There is nothing soft about any of these things we've talked about. Leading from a place of these pieces is not soft. It is the strongest, most dynamic, strong, bold, courageous woman that you can be as you step up and lead as only you are meant to lead. Now, I want to take just a couple of minutes. I hope if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Would love to answer anything. Would love to connect with you on this deeper too. But I want to take just a couple of minutes to share one additional thing with you. Because I've had some people talk about, actually in my retreat in Scotland, the 6 women were wanting to continue on this path with me. They were wanting to continue on this journey and continue doing some of this work. And so I had actually put together a program for them that I'm going to be inviting you guys to join in as well. And it's called the Leader from Within group. And it's just 90 days. It's the next 3 months. Not some huge investment either. But the content that we're going to be going through, the group that we're going to be creating in this safe space to be able to share with one another, to be able to create with one another, and to really get into that deeper place of being the leader that you're meant to be. So give me just a couple of minutes to share with you on that. And I promise I'll let you off in just a minute. So there's going to be 6 calls every other week during this 90-day period, right? During this 3-month period. And I'm alternating between having more faith-based conversation and how that reacts or how that reflects in your business and what it is you're doing out in the world. So the first session is all about being grounded in faith, right? And what does that look like? The tools and the resources so that you can create your own daily practices in really stepping into being grounded in that faith, whatever that is for you, that higher power, being connected to that higher power, that source, and how you can go about that on a regular basis and making that part of your grounding ritual every single day. The second call, we're leaning a little bit more into the business and how your soul is calling you, how it is asking you to step up into the world, how to get quiet, how to listen, and how to discern what is next and where you need to go and what it is for you, right? So that's the second call. The third session is all about being shielded in faith. And we're going to be talking about the tools that you can put on of the shield of faith, right? And how, because let's face it, the world is crazy. The world is constantly trying to throw darts or arrows or put us down or put us in our place, whatever. And so how do you put that shield on in faith and walk in faith as you walk out the door every single day or get on a Zoom call or be out in the world, having that faith around you, knowing that you are walking in your divine feminine and the things that you're meant to do as a leader without being worried about where those arrows are going to hit. The fourth session, we're going to be talking about leading from within. We're going to be talking about how, now that you're grounded and you understand the shield of faith, how to lead with that inner knowing, right? How to lead with that inner knowing and not worry about the doubt, the fear, everything else that comes up, right? Really leading from a place of soft as strong, as empowerment with everyone that you're doing and how that really shows up. The fifth session, we're going to be talking about being covered in faith. Now, there are many, many women throughout history that have gone before us that have their own faith, that have walked strongly, that have walked this path that we're walking, that have been pushed down, that have been subjugated to all kinds of things, right? But they have stood in their power because they know they have been divinely led. They know in their gut and that intuition where they're being told to lead, to step up as that feminine leader they're meant to be. And they have become amazing leader heroines in our world, in our history. And that fifth call, it covered in faith, we're going to be talking about that. How all those women in the past have really covered us in their faith to be the women of today, to be able to step forward and continue moving forward. The fifth call, we're going to be discerning your divine design, where we're actually going to put into action steps what it looks like for you going forward, because you've gone through all this. If you peel back the layers, you've gotten the answers you need. You have the inspiration that you've got to take with you. And now it's creating the action step that goes along with it, right? That action plan of how you move forward as being the leader that only you can be and what that looks like. Now, like I said, this is over a 3-month period. It is every other week. There's going to be a private Facebook group, so there can be conversation during the week with me, with the other women. You got access to the Yes I Can Women's Collaborative group, which gives you masterminds and some more business things, business tools, as far as lunches and networking online and in person. The bonuses I'm offering is a coaching session for starters for people who sign up before, I forget the actual date, a 45-minute coaching session in September to get you started. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? What questions do you have? Where do you need some help, right? A coaching session to really get you settled. And then there'll be 2 15-minute personal private check-ins also in October and November, so that you're actually having direct access to me, so that there isn't just putting you out there and letting it go. You will also be on my weekly email list. So you'll get from that group, get weekly inspiration. You're going to have check-ins via text message. When I send you a text message, if any of you are on from the text message I sent this morning, if you're on that list, you can hit reply. That text message comes back to me. So, how's it going? How are you doing? How are things working? Where are you struggling, right? So there's text messaging coming back and forth. And then if you're interested in attending one of the Divine Yes retreats that are coming up, there's 2 that are still available. There's one in Phoenix, Arizona, and there's one in Austin, Texas. The one in Los Angeles is already sold out. Not that I wouldn't do something different or add another one in the future, but so all of that. So the 2 calls a month, you get the nurturing safe space with these people, the training materials, the handouts, the private Facebook group, the time with me, all of that. $297 a month for 3 months. That's it. That is a drop in the bucket, girls. $297 a month for 3 months. And I guarantee you, if you step in and you do this work, if you really lean in to being able to open yourself up to this, I'm telling you, things can shift in a massive way, because you've then got the divine universe leading you. You're able to listen and hear it. You're able to act upon it. You know in faith that you're going down the right path and that you can tweak and shift as you need to, right? And you can really step into being that lead her that lead her, that divine feminine leader that you're meant to be, using all the tools and resources that we've got out there. The world is calling for leaders. The world is calling for you. Don't be a follower. I know if you're on this call, I know it with every molecule in my body that you are meant to be a leader, that you are called for something greater, and that you know you are here to make a difference. And you might just need some additional tools and support to really step up into that. So that is today's call. I'm so glad you're with me. Thank you for your comments and your things, your comments, your feedback, the emails I've gotten. Tomorrow we'll be back where I'm going to be talking about the one thing you need to do daily. One thing. I love the one thing because it doesn't make it difficult, right? The one thing you need to do daily, and then how to put together a 30-day plan of action for you on this. I will also send you the link. Oh, actually, if you go to, LeadHER from within, LeadHER, LeadHER from within.com. That is where you will find all the details about the program I just listed out to you. LeadHER from within, LeadHER from within.com. It'll have all the details. It's got the link that you can sign up. It all starts September 1st. So fast action with the bonuses I mentioned is through next Wednesday, I think. And then the first call is on Thursday, September 1st. So everything's recorded. You'll get all the access to everything, even if you can't make the call live. But I hope you'll consider joining me. I would really love to have you and really support you and nurture you and love on you as the divine feminine being that you are, stepping up into that lead her I know you're meant to be. All right. I hope you have a fabulous day. I look forward to connecting with you soon. And we'll see you tomorrow, Friday. Have a good Thursday. Take care. Bye-bye.